It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast,
city to city, coast to coast.
It's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Thursday morning, and welcome into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with yours truly, Ryan Hickey. We appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully, wherever you are, you're staying safe, you're staying sane, and more importantly, you're enjoying the show which you're listening to on this Thursday morning. You're having a great week so far as we roll towards week number 3 of the NFL season. On top of that, speaking of it being a big football weekend, the SEC is back. So this weekend in college football, you have SEC football, ACC football, Big 12 football. 3 of the 5 Power 5 conferences that said they were going to play this fall are playing. This is the first weekend that's doing so, and just about a month, literally exactly a month from now, on October 24th, the Big 10 will join that crew, and we will have basically as close to a normal college football season as we possibly could have, all things considered how this year has gone. So very, very, very exciting show. A lot to get to. I'm really excited about this show. I think I'm always excited for these shows. I always look forward to it. You know, if you're not looking forward to the show, if I'm kind of dreading coming on, talking about sports for 2 hours, probably should go to a different profession. But today that excitement is even higher than normal because I have developed a theory over the past few weeks. I'll say that I think is finally coming to fruition. Now, it's still early. It's still early, and it's really predicated, and it's going to be predicting what this NFL offseason is going to be like for the quarterbacks, specifically the young quarterbacks. But from what I've seen so far through 2 weeks, listening to franchises, me being based here in New York, listening to the Jets fans specifically, I'm trying to put this poll question out. If you haven't seen the poll question, Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show, Instagram, at Ryan Hickey Show, either one, either or, you can vote. Should the Jets tank to draft Trevor Lawrence? Obviously, they're 0-2. Things have gone anything but to plan. Adam Gase is a dead man walking, it seems. And with that, possibly Sam Darnold could also go as well. So I want to kind of get into that, what I mean by that, and why these poll results to me verify, in my mind at least, that there's going to be a brand new quarterback market developing this offseason. And it's going to really separate the haves from the have-nots. I'll explain to that in 1 second. That's what we're going to start with. But also, still a lot to get to. Very excited. Monday night, Drew Brees and the Saints struggle in Las Vegas as the Raiders open up their brand new home Allegiant Stadium out there in Las Vegas. The one reason why the Saints cannot win the Super Bowl this year. Now, it's fixable, and the good news is the answer is already on their roster. But I'll tell you the switch they're going to have to make at some point this year if they want to win a Super Bowl. We'll do that in a half hour, 9:40 Eastern. If you're gracious to listen with us, if you're up early in the West Coast, 6:40 Eastern. Top of the second hour, Miami Heat, 1 win away from going to the finals. Their first finals since LeBron was there back in 2014, his last year when they lost to the Spurs. 3-1, big win last night over the Celtics. They hold on. Can they go all the way? Can the Heat, 1, close out this series? 2, if so, can they get past the Lakers? Could they get past the Nuggets? We'll explain why the answer is yes. Top of the second hour, 10:20. Baseball season, as crazy as this felt. I mean, we knew a 60-game season was going to be short. It was going to go by quick. I feel like it's, flown by. Exactly 2 months ago today, July 24th, is when baseball season came back. The first regular season games for most teams were on that Friday. 2 months later, we are sitting at the last weekend, Sunday. 3 days from now, the MLB regular season closes up. Crazy to think about. So with that, I want to kind of revisit. I'm going to do this later on with the NFL with my predictions, but I want to revisit my Major League Baseball predictions that I made right before the season started, division winners, playoff teams, and even this is how crazy the season's gone. My predictions were made before, the day of the season starting, by the way, but before they announced that playoff expansion was coming. Talk about doing something at the last minute. But we'll reveal, I'll tell you my preseason predictions, and part kind of want to get into a larger topic of the most surprising Major League Baseball team this year, because a lot has been surprising. A lot has really gone not to plan. A lot, I think, has surprised so far. In a short season, obviously, that can happen. So I'll tell you the most surprising Major League Baseball team at 10:20 and 10:40, the second edition, Hickey's Pickies. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it went well last week. I had a lot of fun with our celebrity in-studio picker, the great Lauren Clark of LC Designs NYC. Let's just say she set the bar very high for every celebrity picker, which I hope is going to happen every single week here at Hickey's Pickies. She went 5-0 with the spread. She crushed it. She absolutely crushed it. 5-0. I'm 3-2. My guy Christian Maldonado will try to somehow top that. We're going to do a little different. We're going to put an upset special in there. So 5 picks plus an upset special. So maybe that'll give him a leg up over Lauren. But she set the bar very, very, very high. So do that to end the show, 10:40 Eastern or so. As a reminder, we are coming to you live in living color, if you were watching on the video stream, from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios, whether it's great pizza, hot heroes, or phenomenal dinners, right? It's not one or the other. It's all three. Check out Big Italy Pizzeria either in person if you're on Long Island out in Medford, or online at Big Italy Pizza, BigItalyPizza.com. So like I said, I'm very excited for the show because I'm very excited about this topic. Put it on Twitter at Ryan Hickey Show. Should the Jets tank to draft to draft Trevor Lawrence? Put it on Instagram as well. Should the Jets tank to draft Trevor Lawrence? And the reason why I put that question out there, and I want to hear your thoughts and your response leading into the show, is because I believe a brand new quarterback market is going to develop starting this offseason. Some of the questions that we had last offseason about a few franchise quarterbacks heading to this year, I think kind of put the wheels in motion. Now, as we've seen so far, the struggles for some teams already, starting 0-2 if you're the Jets, 0-2 if you're the Giants. Mitchell Trubisky's 2-0, but the Bears' offense has not looked good, and he really hasn't played that great, to be honest. But the wheels, honestly, were put in motion a few years ago. It started with something the Arizona Cardinals did. They started a trend that I personally believe is going to become a lot more popular as the years go on, and that is the trend of getting rid of young quarterbacks that you draft high, moving on from them very quickly, and basically drafting new ones a lot earlier, and shortening that leash that normally franchise quarterbacks drafted in the first round, quarterbacks drafted in the top 10 would have compared to what we've really known up to this point. Right? The Cardinals, what they did, they drafted Josh Rosen number 10, had a brutal year. Josh Rosen didn't start the whole year, but they saw enough to where they said, you know what? This is not a guy we're going to move on. They drafted Kyler Murray. They hired Cliff Kingsbury 1 year. 1 year after drafting Josh Rosen number 10, they drafted Kyler Murray number 1. They cut bait with their top 10 pick 1 year in. And to me, this is a trend that's going to continue. It's going to keep on happening more and more often. And this is going to widen the gap between the haves in the NFL and the have-nots in the NFL starting this offseason. This offseason, we're going to see the first iterations of it. We're going to see the first drops. And from there, I think it's going to continue. There'll be a deluge in a few years. And the reason why the gap, in my mind, is going to widen between the haves and the have-nots is simple. The way teams find their franchise quarterbacks is about to change, again, starting this offseason. It is about to become a lot more easier to find a franchise quarterback than it was in the past, and here's why. Let's go, first of all, to the old way, right? Conventionally, up until really 2020, the conventional way to getting a franchise quarterback, a young quarterback that is a transcendent talent, that can win you games, win you a Super Bowl, and be there for 10, 15, even 20 years. With the new rules, even 20 years. The old way of doing that, of acquiring that franchise-changing quarterback, was losing, getting a top draft pick, right? You tank, you lose, the team stinks. And your goal is you hope you draft a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, like Deshaun Watson, like Russell Wilson. And you hope they can turn the team around. They are essentially the savior. Where you draft them, and all of a sudden your team becomes a lot better. The Colts did it with Andrew Luck, 2012. The Colts were 2-14. Now, granted, they had injuries, especially to their franchise greatest quarterback of all time, Peyton Manning, missed that entire previous year. But Andrew Luck took a 2-14 team, and they went 11-5 the next year, made the playoffs. The old way, the old philosophy of getting a franchise quarterback, losing, and more losing, and hoping this guy can be the franchise quarterback, can be the savior. Well, guess what? That philosophy has mostly failed. Here's why. Going back to when the Colts did it in 1998, when they drafted Peyton Manning. So that's 22 years, right, since the 1998 draft. Teams picking in the top 10 without trading up. So the Chiefs are not included in this because they traded up. Teams that are in the top 10 because they are losing because they are bad. How many teams have picked a quarterback in the top 10 in 22 years, and that same quarterback has taken them to a Super Bowl? Not win it, just take them there. Do you know how many times that's happened? 7 times. 7 times in 22 years. A quarterback drafted in the top 10 took his team to a Super Bowl while still on that same team. The Colts with Peyton Manning, when they drafted him in 1998. The Eagles with Donovan McNabb. The Giants with Eli Manning. Obviously, that was successful, winning 2 Super Bowls. The Falcons with Matt Ryan. Panthers with Cam Newton. And then, as most recently in 2016, the number 1 overall pick, Jared Goff with the Rams. The number 2 overall pick, Carson Wentz with the Eagles. Although, obviously, we know Nick Foles led the Super Bowl run. I'm going to give Carson Wentz credit because he was playing MVP caliber football. Would have won the MVP if he wasn't hurt. And was playing great up until that point. So I'm going to give him credit. I will give Carson Wentz a Super Bowl appearance and helping lead the Eagles to the Super Bowl. But that's 7 quarterbacks in 22 years where tanking, in theory, has worked. That percentage is not great. Let's go, how about this? Let's go one step further. So 7 quarterbacks in 22 years have led their team to a Super Bowl. How many quarterbacks have been drafted in the top 10? Top 10. Not in the first round, not in the draft, top 10. Because you think when you're drafting a quarterback in the top 10, that is a franchise-changing, savior-like quarterback that will take your franchise from the dumpster to the penthouse. 38 quarterbacks in that same 22-year span, from 1998 to 2019. Right, obviously 2020 not included. So 1998 to 2019. 38 quarterbacks were taken in the top 10 in that span. And like I just said before, 7 of them led their teams to a Super Bowl. That's 18%. So 18% of quarterbacks drafted in the top 10 have taken their team to the Super Bowl in the last 22 years. To me, this highlights and this proves that losing as much as possible, tanking for a quarterback, and then hoping said quarterback is the savior, putting the weight of the entire offense, the weight of the entire team on their shoulders, does not work. It does not equate to success. Tanking works less than 1/5. 1 out of 5 times it works, at best. Less than 20%. So the reason why I wanted to put that poll question out there last night about whether the Jets should tank and draft Trevor Lawrence is because I've heard a lot of Jets fans recently blame the issues on Sam Darnold. You see now, because the quarterback position is so important to the NFL, because it's so important to team success, fans, media equate team struggles to the quarterback. That's just not the case. There are so much more factors that have to do with team success than just the quarterback. So now, the reason why I lay this out there, so 18% of quarterbacks taken in the top 10 since 1998 have led their teams to the Super Bowl. And this was the old way, right? Tanking, get the high draft pick, get Trevor Lawrence, get rid of Sam Darnold. If you're the Giants, if you're the Jets, if you're the Bears, if you're the Jaguars, tanking. That was always the traditional, conventional way to get a franchise quarterback. Here's the new way. Starting this offseason, right now, this offseason, in a few months, this is the new way that's going to develop. Now, it may only happen in one situation, but it's going to become more popular as the years go on. This is a long-term theory here. So I won't be proven right, again, in one offseason, but it's going to continue. I think we'll see it. The new way to acquire franchise quarterbacks, I believe that's going to happen, is that teams that have aging quarterbacks, teams that maybe are really good but have questions about their quarterback currently, are now going to be able to acquire former top picks from bad teams and use those guys to be their savior quarterback. Here's what I mean by that. I'll use the Jets as a perfect example. Jets fans want to tank. Jets fans want to draft Trevor Lawrence. I promise you, if you're Joe Douglas, the general manager of the Jets, it's going to be an impossible situation if you have the number 1 overall pick or number 2 overall pick. If you're in the top 3, Justin Fields is sitting there, Trevor Lawrence is sitting there, it's going to be impossible for you to sit there and pass one of those guys up to keep Sam Darnold and draft someone else. So if they do draft Trevor Lawrence, which on Instagram, 75% of you voted yes, tank for Trevor Lawrence. Twitter's a little close, it's almost 50-50. That just shows you the split right there. But if the Jets do what their fans want, tank, draft Trevor Lawrence and get rid of Sam Darnold, you're going to have a team like the Saints, teams like the Colts, the Patriots, the Steelers, the Buccaneers, with older quarterbacks, with questions about their quarterbacks, but a really good team overall, being able to be in the market for Sam Darnold. Maybe being in the market for Baker Mayfield if the Browns continue to struggle. How about maybe Carson Wentz? I'll get to him in a second. But there's some questions and some blame going around about Carson Wentz. So look at all the bad teams in the NFL with young quarterbacks, right? The Jets with Sam Darnold, the Browns with Baker Mayfield, the Bears with Mitchell Trubisky, the Eagles with Carson Wentz, the Giants with Daniel Jones. If their struggles continue, and their fans and the media continues to put the struggles and the blame on the quarterback, getting frustrated that they're not developing enough in their short amount of time, frustrated that they're not putting up points despite the cast of characters around them being brutally bad. If you're the Jets with Sam Darnold, if you're the Eagles like Carson Wentz, where you have basically no receivers, where they're one injury away from putting me or you at wide receiver. Bad teams, it's a philosophy thing. Bad teams believe that drafting quarterbacks like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields will automatically solve their problems. The Jets draft Trevor Lawrence, he will automatically make their offensive line better, make their wide receivers better, make their running back better. That's not the case. So this means to me that these young quarterbacks like Sam Darnold, like Baker Mayfield, like Carson Wentz, like Daniel Jones, and even we'll throw Mitchell Trubisky in there. That's a stretch. But these young quarterbacks, hurt by their surroundings, blamed for the struggles, will now get a second chance with another organization, because these teams that will draft these quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, will then trade their current quarterbacks. So again, imagine Sean Payton getting a guy, let's say, like Baker Mayfield or Mitchell Trubisky or Sam Darnold in New Orleans next year with that team. Same thing with the Colts. I've been fantasizing on these last few weeks about Sam Darnold next year in a Colts uniform. Their offensive line is one of the best in the league. They have a solid running game, decent wide receivers, a lot better than they have in New York, and a great offensive-minded head coach in Frank Reich. These have teams, right? The Saints, the Steelers, these traditionally good teams year in and year out that never tank, that never are an embarrassment, are always in the mix, are now going to have, it's going to be easier for them to acquire franchise quarterbacks because these bad teams are going to blame their struggles on their young quarterbacks and basically ditch them for pennies on the dollar. So Sean Payton, Bill Belichick if Cam Newton goes elsewhere, Bruce Arians, Frank Reich, even, John Gruden if he doesn't like Derek Carr. They're going to have a brand new, fresh crop of quarterbacks that are almost damaged goods, essentially, from their previous teams that they can take in, surround them with talent and offensive genius, and get a lot more out of them than these bad teams. So now, tanking it never really was an option for some of these organizations that are good every year. Right? We talked to the Patriots this past year. Will they tank for Trevor Lawrence? Tom Brady's not here. What does Bill Belichick do? He gets Cam Newton. And if Cam Newton goes somewhere else, he gets a draft pick. And now, teams like the Jets, teams like maybe the Browns, if they continue to struggle, draft a young quarterback. Well, their young quarterback right now is going to be on the market. So now good to great teams don't have to worry about tanking. Don't have to worry about trading up and giving away massive draft picks in order to try to trade up to get into the range of drafting a franchise quarterback. It's going to come easier because these guys like Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, are going to be on the market sooner than ever. We never see young quarterbacks in their prime, hit the free agency market. It's going to become more and more often. It's going to happen, I should say, more and more often, So with that said, why I believe, at least, it's going to be easier for teams to get a franchise quarterback is because now we're going to see younger and younger quarterbacks who struggle in their first season without any help either reach free agency, get cut, or get traded for pennies on the dollar, way less than they normally would have. They're going to get a second chance at life with a good, smart organization, which again to me is going to just widen the gap from the really, really good teams to the really, really, really bad teams who are going to be in the same cycle. Tank, draft a quarterback. He can't put the weight of the world on his shoulders. Well, 3 years from now, we'll get rid of him. He's the issue. We'll get a new quarterback. So we're going to put a lot more quarterback talent on the market than ever before. So speaking of which, so that's why I think the gap's going to widen. But speaking of which franchise quarterbacks could be on the market this offseason? Which, if you're a team, like I'm a fan of the Colts, if you are a fan of the Patriots, if you're a fan of, let's say, the Steelers with Big Ben aging, if you're a fan of the Saints, which we'll get into them in a little bit later, but they have Drew Brees. He's aging. He has question marks. Which of these franchise quarterbacks could be available to be on the market next year or even this offseason? I'll tell you next when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Hickey's Pickies to finish the show at 10:40. Why the Saints can't win a Super Bowl, or I should say one change the Saints have to make if they want to win a Super Bowl 15 minutes from now. We are talking young franchise quarterbacks. Why I believe a brand new market is going to develop this offseason, and that's going to be young quarterbacks taken in the first round that have yet to really have a lot of sustainable success with their organizations. Personally, my belief, unfairly criticized in a lot of ways for their struggles, not put in positions to succeed, that I believe are going to have a second life now with other franchises that know what they're doing, that are competent, and put them in positions to succeed. Because it's easier than ever, really for the most part, to find a new franchise quarterback in terms of you can just keep on drafting, right? The Cardinals drafted Josh Rosen number 10. They didn't like what they saw. Next year, they're picking number 1 overall. Boom, we're getting Kyler Murray. And look how that's turned out. So far, so good. That Cardinals ceiling with Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury so far is higher than really it ever could have been with Josh Rosen. So it's easier than ever to find a brand new franchise quarterback, hit the reset button, and start over. Because more and more talent is coming out of college. The college system with the pro system is meshed. So it's easier for these guys to transition into the pro game. But if you don't give these players hope, or I should say help, or hope, either one, if you don't have competent coaching, if you don't have any surrounding talent, they're going to struggle. And because the quarterback position is so important, because it's so heavily scrutinized, right? That's the one position. It's the hardest position in sports. It's the one that we equate the most failure to and the most success to team-wise. So if the team wins, the quarterback is great. If the team loses, the quarterback stinks. And now if your teams, like the Jets, like the Giants, like the Browns, where you're losing, you're not good, the blame goes on the quarterback. So if you are drafting Trevor Lawrence and you're getting rid of Sam Darnold, if you're the Browns, Justin Fields getting rid of Baker Mayfield, well, these young quarterbacks are going to have to go somewhere. And I think they'll have a ton of success with competent organizations like the Saints, like the Colts, like the Steelers, like the Patriots, Buccaneers, that could use quarterbacks next year. And it's easier for them to find franchise quarterbacks more than ever, which again to me will widen the gap between the haves, the really good teams, and the have-nots, the really bad teams that are constantly picking in the top 10 and the top 5. The stat I laid out if you're just joining us, right? The old way to pick franchise quarterbacks is tanking. Lose as many games as possible, get a high draft pick, get that quarterback you can't miss. Since 1998, I went back and looked this up. Since 1998, quarterbacks drafted in the top 10 by teams that were there, not teams that traded in, because the Chiefs, when they drafted Patrick Mahomes at number 10, they traded up. They were in the 20s and they traded up. They had a good team and they got Patrick Mahomes. That's different. Teams that lose on purpose, teams that are just overall bad, if they drafted a quarterback in the top 10, 18% of the time, that quarterback took that team to a Super Bowl. In 22 years, 18% of the time. Less than 1 in 5 times it works. Tanking doesn't work. Tanking to draft a franchise quarterback does not work more times than not. 4 out of 5 times, more than that, more than 4 to 5 times, that quarterback will not have success, will not lead your team to a Super Bowl, and or have success elsewhere. So that's why I think this gap's going to widen. Because tanking has proven not to work, but teams continue to insist, and fans continue to insist that tanking works. Instagram, Ryan Hickey Show. At Ryan Hickey Show on Instagram. Put a poll on my story. Should the Jets tank to draft Trevor Lawrence? 77% said yes. Tanking in the fans' mind still works because you know why? That next guy is always going to be the one. When Jets fans lost and drafted Sam Darnold, it was one of the greatest days. He's going to be the guy to save the franchise. Here we are 3 years later. He's not the guy. He thinks he's the reason why the Jets are losing. Let's draft Trevor Lawrence. He'll turn this thing around. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. But if that happens, if the Jets get the first round, if the Jets get a top pick, if the Giants get a high pick, if the Browns get a high pick, if some other teams get high picks, would they take a franchise quarterback? So this lends me to discuss now which quarterbacks, because like I said, to start the open, I believe a brand new quarterback market is going to develop starting this offseason. So speaking of which young franchise quarterbacks could be available this offseason? Which franchise quarterbacks could teams like the Saints, the Colts, the Patriots, the Steelers, model organizations? We'll even go to the Buccaneers because they have a great offensive weapons. And with Tom Brady aging, who knows if he can finish this year? They may be in the mood for a quarterback or in the need for a quarterback next year. Which teams or which quarterbacks, I should say, could be on the market, either trade or just free agents if they're cut, for teams to get? To me, the Jets. Sam Darnold, 100%. Will be on the market. He could be really the main guy, the number one focus guy. Young quarterback on the market this year. Because Jets fans, again, being in New York, I've seen it kind of firsthand. After that 49ers loss, that just blowout, ugly, disgusting loss on Sunday, Jets fans can't wait to get rid of Sam Darnold. Now, not every Jets fan. The smart ones that I know that Sam Darnold's talented, know that he's good, know he's not the problem. But that's the issue. The vocal minority is the loudest one saying get rid of Sam Darnold. Forget the fact that he's had zero offensive line protection. Last year, the Jets were 30th in offensive line protection. 2018, his rookie year, they're 18th. So forget the offensive line is stunk. Forget the fact that he's had no weapons to throw to. Jamison Crowder, no disrespect to Jamison Crowder. He was Sam Darnold's number one leading receiver last year. 2 years ago, in his rookie year, it was Robbie Anderson and Jermaine Kearse. They were the number one and number two. 1 and 1A, if you want to say. This year, Jamison Crowder, Chris Herndon, their tight end, and Chris Hogan are the leading receivers. Now, 2 games in, but still. No disrespect to any of those players. None of them are number ones. Some are borderline number twos. So he's had no weapons to throw to. No offensive line protection. He's had 2 head coaches in 3 years now, with Adam Gase being terrible. Terrible. I was so wrong about Adam Gase. I will never forget. When this show first started, the Morning Boys, Ryan Hickey, Mark Everett Kelly, we started it late September, early October. Right in the midst of Sam Darnold having mono missing time, fans were very upset with Adam Gase. I said it's not his fault. He's working with a running back he doesn't want. Obviously, the quarterback you're working with, a third-string quarterback, what are you going to do? But, man, I will admit, hand up, I was wrong. Adam Gase does not know what he's doing. He is putting this team in terrible positions to succeed, not helping out his quarterback, not helping out his offense, basically just being the being the blame guy. He's looking for a fall guy every week. Well, Sam Darnold didn't do the reads right. Our offensive line is not great. It's never his fault. But Sam Darnold made a throw last week. Evaded a sack, ran to his left, threw across his body, threw a dime to Braxton Berrios on the run for a touchdown. This man has a lot of talent, and I cannot wait for him to go to a stable organization, hopefully next year, with real weapons to throw to, with an offensive line that protects him, with an offensive mind that can get the best out of him. He is going to thrive. Personally, selfishly, as a Colts fan, I pray it's the Colts. I think he'd be the perfect fit with Frank Reich, with that offensive line, with those weapons. Sam Darnold absolutely will be available this offseason as long as the Jets continue to tank and they want to draft Trevor Lawrence. How about the Browns and Baker Mayfield? The Browns have been a dumpster fire organization. Baker Mayfield, in his short time, because he's in that same draft as Sam Darnold, so in his 3 years in Cleveland so far, he's had 4 head coaches. Right? You had Hugh Jackson, an interim. You had Freddie Kitchens for a year. Now you have Kevin Stefanski. Their offensive line was trash last year. Trash. And Freddie Kitchens continued to dial up deep balls, continue to dial up deep plays, and Baker Mayfield would just get crushed. So part of the regression Baker Mayfield had in 2019, because his head coach didn't know how to be an NFL head coach. He didn't know how to put the offense in positions to succeed, despite the fact you had Jarvis Landry at wide receiver, despite the fact you had Odell Beckham Jr., Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, David Njoku. You have talent. He just didn't know how to use it. So I think Baker Mayfield still has a lot of talent. And again, I think if he goes to an organization that has stability, that knows what they're doing offensively, they can put him in positions to succeed, and he will have success. Browns fans are ready. My guy Ken Carman, who I work with on CBS Sports Radio, he hosts a Saturday morning show. You should listen. He is based in Cleveland. They were talking about last Thursday night when the Browns played the Bengals as a must-win game for Baker Mayfield. Fans were already, after week one and that loss to the Ravens, calling for him to say, we got to draft a new quarterback. Baker's not the guy. So trust me, those fans are ready to get rid of Baker Mayfield. I think he could be available if the Browns continue and don't have success, because it's almost a playoff year or bust. As crazy that is for the Browns. Having been in the playoffs, I believe since 2002? Now it's a playoff or bust year. He could be available. How about, this is going to surprise you, how about Carson Wentz? You think I'm jumping the gun on Carson Wentz? Think I'm trying to just pull them out of thin air? How about this? How about I play you a cut from Doug Peterson, his head coach? Doug Peterson was asked earlier this week if he thinks Carson Wentz is regressing in year 5, if he has gotten worse than he did when he was a rookie. Here's what Doug Peterson said to that question. Here's his answer.
It's a good question. For us, it's a matter of continuing to work, I think as coaches and players, we continue to strive to get better every single day. I just don't want Carson to feel like he has to make all the plays every single time. I just want him to just be Carson.
Coach, is your quarterback regressing in year number 5? That's a great question. I mean, are we serious here? Does everybody forget what Carson Wentz did last year with literally zero weapons? Last year for the season, tight ends Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert were the leading receivers because the wide receivers were so banged up. A tight end had more receptions and yards than any wide receiver on the Eagles last year because that's how injury-prone they were. Alshon Jeffrey played 10 games. Deshaun Jackson, their big free agent signing last year, 3 games. Nelson Aguilar, 11 games. And when he played, he was a net negative because that guy dropped every single pass that hit him in the hands. It was almost better when he didn't play. Mac Hollins, Greg Ward, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside all played legitimate snaps out of necessity. I couldn't even tell you where Mac Hollins went to college, and I'm a huge college football fan. Greg Ward, you know what I remember about Greg Ward in college? This guy was a college quarterback at Houston. When Houston was rolling with Tom Herman as their head coach, Greg Ward was the quarterback. They transitioned him to wide receiver, and he was one of the main targets down the stretch. They won 4 games in a row last year just to win the division. And in those games, again, Carson Wentz is throwing to nobody. In the playoff game versus the Seahawks, now I know Carson Wentz barely played. I think he had 3 pass attempts. He had that concussion in the first quarter. But even when Josh McCown went in, the only 2 wide receivers on the Eagles roster the entire game, in a playoff game at home against the Seahawks, that had a reception, Greg Ward, a college quarterback, Deontay Burnett. I honestly never heard of him. You're throwing to no one. Again, they were 1 injury away from throwing to me and you. Where's Vince Papale? We need an Invincible 2.0 for this Eagles wide receiving core. And it's happening again. Jalen Reagor, their number 1, or I should say their first-round draft pick at wide receiver, on IR. Hurt his thumb. It's crazy. But Carson Wentz, since he got hurt in 2017, since Nick Foles led them to the Super Bowl, it's like Eagles fans can't wait to get rid of Carson Wentz. Every issue, they blame on Carson Wentz. Now, he hasn't played great. He's had 4 interceptions in the first 2 games. Don't get me wrong. He hasn't, it's not him playing amazing and everyone else is playing bad. But they are way more issues bigger than Carson Wentz. So does Doug Peterson get frustrated? Does he want to get another quarterback? What if the Eagles go in the tank? They're so injury prone right now on the line, at receiver, at the skill positions. Their secondary stinks. They're not a good football team right now. What if they're in the top 10? Do you ditch your franchise quarterback to draft another one? Carson Wentz is a guy, if he gets to a winning organization, gets a fresh start, to me, I like his chances a lot. How about Daniel Jones? Crazy. Year number 2 for Daniel Jones. Already there is some frustration. Already there's a little agitation with the way Daniel Jones and how much time it's taking for him to develop. Earlier this week, Giants quarterback coach Jerry Shuplinski. I hope I said that right. Shuplinski. I apologize. Giants quarterback coach Jerry Shuplinski was asked when Daniel Jones could get past his young quarterback mistakes. He said, quote, "We all hope we don't have to wait too long." We hope we don't have to wait too long. The man has started 14 games in his career, and there's already frustration. How is this possible? Our bar for young quarterbacks has almost become impossible to surpass. That when they don't reach these lofty expectations, it's their fault. They're not the guy. Let's move on. If you aren't Patrick Mahomes winning MVP in your first year as a starter, if you're not Lamar Jackson winning the MVP in year number 2, if you're not Deshaun Watson winning despite the team just around you being terrible, you're no good. You stink. 14 games, and we're already potentially getting frustrated with Daniel Jones. Did you know? Sunday against the Bears, this past Sunday, was the first time Daniel Jones in his career, in a year and a half in those 14 starts, had all of his weapons healthy and on the field at the same time. Sunday, was the first time Saquon Barkley, Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, Darius Slayton, all 5 of them were healthy and on the field at the same time, and that didn't even last too long because Saquon Barkley tore his ACL in the first half. So this frustration, 1, is misguided. 2, if they're frustrated by the turnovers, Daniel Jones does turn the ball over a lot. But if they don't think he's developing at the speed that he should be, and if the Giants are sitting up there, number 3, number 4, number 5, Trevor Lawrence is sitting there, Justin Fields is sitting there. If a new general manager comes in, if Dave Gettleman is fired, you don't think he wants to start over with a brand new quarterback? Daniel Jones could be on the block for teams to pick up. And to me, the reason why these 4 quarterbacks I list, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones, I believe any of these quarterbacks, any of these 4, if they are put in a new system with competent coaching and with actual weapons to throw to and are protecting them, they will have a lot of success. They will have success and they will be good. And what will Jets fans be saying? What will Browns fans be saying? Oh, woe is me. Look at us. Another gem lost. Look at this team. Look at Pittsburgh. Look at the Saints making Baker Mayfield into a star, making Sam Darnold into a star. You know why that happens? Because good teams invest in their franchise quarterback. They invest in weapons to throw to. They invest in the offensive line to protect them. While bad teams expect their quarterback to be the savior, to cover up for every hole in offense. Sure, the offensive line is horrendous. You're running for your life as soon as you get the ball. Sure, you're thrown to practice squad players as your number 1 wide receiver. Sure, the running game stinks. But that doesn't matter. You still have to be really good. You still have to carry us to victory every single week. That is not practical. So that's why I think as teams try to find their next Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, we'll see more and more young quarterbacks that are put in bad positions to succeed because of the system that they're in, because of the insane expectations that are put on them. They will get second chances earlier than ever. They will get new life with an organization at a younger age than we've ever seen before. And this will lead to rejuvenation, revitalizing their career, and again, making it easier for these competent teams to get their franchise quarterback. If you can get Sam Darnold at 25 years old next year for a first-round draft pick, you're telling me the Saints, the Colts, the Patriots, the Steelers aren't doing that? Of course you are. You sacrificed 1, maybe. I would even do 2 if I'm one of these teams, some of these teams. You sacrifice 2 first-round draft picks for a guy that you believe could be your quarterback for the next 10 years and have a lot of success with, win Super Bowls with, go to Super Bowls with. Because you're retooling on the fly. You're not tanking. You're not tearing it all down and picking whatever quarterback you pick to be the savior, to cover up all the warts on this team. So I'm curious. All these young quarterbacks I listed, maybe there's one I didn't list. Which young quarterback in your mind if they're on a different team next year, could have the most success? I think it's Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is on a competent team. The Saints, the Colts, the Patriots, the Steelers, the Buccaneers, if Tom Brady gets hurt or even he sits behind Tom Brady and starts in 2 years. I think he'll have the most success if he's on a new team next year than any other quarterback. I'm curious your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, or Twitter at Ryan Hickey Show. Which young quarterback could have the most success if they're on a new team next year? I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'm curious too. Do you buy my theory? Because it's easier than ever to draft a young franchise quarterback and get rid of the current one you have, will a new quarterback market develop? Do you think starting next year, good teams will start targeting, instead of targeting the draft, start targeting these young quarterbacks on bad teams, the ones that are getting blamed for the failure, despite having talent, despite not being in positions to succeed, and rejuvenating these guys' careers, giving them a second life and having them succeed with their team. I think that's absolutely going to be the case, and we will see it play out again. Maybe only once or twice this offseason, but it's going to become more and more common as the years go on, and it will become a brand new quarterback market pretty quickly. So I'm curious your thoughts. Young quarterback, if they're on a new team next year, will have the most success. Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook. Comment on the live stream. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, WWSRN_radio. Shoot us a tweet at Ryan Hickey Show as well, at Ryan Hickey Show. Shoot me a tweet there. Let me know what you think. We'll read them on the air. And when we come back, speaking of quarterbacks, speaking of teams, really good teams, with some shaky quarterback play, one change the Saints could make to help them win a Super Bowl, that they have to make. If they don't make it, they won't win. They make one change, why they will have a better chance to win the Super Bowl than they do right now. I'll tell you why next, when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome on back into the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Talking young quarterbacks. Which quarterback in your mind could have a ton of success next year if they're on a brand new team? For me, the answer is Sam Darnold. You put this guy on the Saints with Sean Payton, the Colts with Frank Reich, the Patriots with Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, the Steelers with Mike Tomlin and the way they are run, the Buccaneers with Bruce Arians and that offense. All teams that could be in the quarterback market either this year or next year because of the age of their quarterbacks and for the Patriots sense, depending on what Cam Newton wants contract-wise and how he lasts. But I have so much confidence, I should say, that if these young quarterbacks, if guys like Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, even Carson Wentz, when Carson Wentz was asked by a reporter, when Doug Peterson, his head coach, was asked by a reporter if Carson Wentz is regressing in year number 5, Doug Peterson said that's a great question, a.k.a. yes. So if these head coaches are frustrated with their young quarterbacks, if the fan bases are blaming them for their lack of success and want to move on, there's going to be a brand new quarterback market for all these young quarterbacks still in their rookie deals, 2 years in, 3 years in. The bad teams think they're not getting the job done, and the good teams, I think, will see this and pounce. Continue the gap between the have-nots and the haves. No more tanking. Tanking doesn't work anyway. 18% of quarterbacks taken in the top 10 since 1998, a 22-year span, not a small window, 22 years. In the last 22 years, 18% of quarterbacks drafted in the top 10 by their teams went to the Super Bowl with that quarterback. Tanking doesn't work. It doesn't work. But for whatever reason, these bad teams and these fan bases continue to think that that's the answer. Sam Darnold stinks. We draft Trevor Lawrence. He's gonna turn this organization around. He's gonna all of a sudden make the offensive line be able to block. He's gonna make Adam Gase a quarterback whisperer again. He's gonna make Jamison Crowder, Denzel Mims, all these guys great again. No, that's not the case. It's not realistic. So I cannot wait for these young quarterbacks. So the first time because we never see, that's the one position that never reaches free agency. Kirk Cousins, arguably, was the most talented quarterback to ever reach the free agency market. Tom Brady, say what you will, at 43 years old, a little different. But those two guys are the most, and Cam Newton, we'll say, but also, again, Kirk Cousins, because the Redskins didn't want to pay him, didn't trust him to be the big king quarterback. Cam Newton, injury questions. Tom Brady, age. Those are the three biggest names to ever reach the free agency market, and none of them are in their prime. Now imagine Baker Mayfield is available for trade. Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz. So-called franchise quarterbacks, in some cases, not even reached their prime yet. Daniel Jones is in year 2. Sam Darnold's in year 3. They haven't reached their prime yet. Available for teams to pick up. I think we'll have a ton of success. So I'm curious. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, or if you want to tweet me directly, at Ryan Hickey Show, would appreciate that. Which young quarterback could have the most success if they're on a new team next year? And are you buying my philosophy? Are you buying my theory? It's going to take years to prove. But starting this offseason, a brand new quarterback market will develop. And you'll be able to get a franchise quarterback on the cheap. I think it will definitely widen the gap. The good teams will get better. The bad teams will get worse. I think that's what we'll see. So here's your thoughts again. Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. Vote for the poll. Should the Jets tank for Sam Darnold? Instagram, also the same thing, at Ryan Hickey Show. 77% of you on Instagram say yes, tank, get Trevor Lawrence via the Jets. Which means Sam Darnold's going to be available. Music as a Colts fan to my ears. So we'll continue that. We'll get your thoughts throughout the rest of the show. Hickey's Pickies in an hour. Most surprising Major League Baseball team. We'll do that before we get out of here as well. But I do want to kind of circle back to what happened on Monday night. What we watched on Monday Night Football as the Raiders open up their brand new, gorgeous Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. And they upset the Saints. And coming out of that game, the discussion was about Drew Brees. Is he washed? Is he done? Is it over? Because coming into the year, the Saints were still viewed as the Super Bowl contender. They still had a great roster. Still picked, for the most part, to win the NFC South. And one of those teams you circle with the Seahawks, with the 49ers, that, yeah, they are legitimate Super Bowl threats. They're one of the teams to be in the NFC. Monday night, Drew Brees, the numbers themselves look good. 26-38, 312 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Game 1 against the Buccaneers, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. But to me, watching what we did the first 2 weeks, knowing the history of Drew Brees' last few years, I come out of Monday night's game confirming. I had my doubts and I had my thoughts. Monday night's performance confirmed to me that if Drew Brees is the Saints quarterback the rest of the year, if he is their quarterback in the playoffs, they cannot win a Super Bowl. They cannot win a Super Bowl with Drew Brees as the starting quarterback for the Saints. Now, I want to throw this disclaimer out there before I get into it more. But I'm not saying Drew Brees is washed up. I'm not saying he's going to have a terrible rest of the year. The Saints are 1-1. Again, he threw for 312 yards. Now, it's misleading a little bit. But his stature is still going to be there. The Saints are still going to win games. Their roster is incredibly talented. And they'll still make the playoffs. But when it comes to making the playoffs, when it comes to trying to win big games late in the season, I don't trust and I don't think Drew Brees is the quarterback to get it done. A few reasons. Number one, like I said, I had my doubts coming into this year, and here's what I mean by that. The last few years, Drew Brees is 41 years old. The last few years, Drew Brees has run out of gas and hasn't been able to up his play to help the Saints beat teams they should beat and get to the Super Bowl. Win the Super Bowl. Let's go back to really where I first noticed it, 2018, 2 years ago. Drew Brees, his first 11 games back in 2018, threw for 285 yards a game and 2.6 touchdowns per game. That was his average over 11 games. You get to December, that last month of the season, that he went from 285 yards per game to 214. He went from 2.6 touchdowns per game to just 0.75. And guess what? That December slog carried into the postseason. 20 points versus the Eagles, and there were one Alshon Jeffrey drop pass that led to an interception away from maybe losing that game. Nick Foles had the Eagles driving in the dome in the fourth quarter. And if Alshon Jeffrey catches that pass, maybe the Eagles and Nick Foles pull it out again. You win that game. They scored 23 points versus the Rams. And let's not forget this fact. We all point to the missed pass interference call that could have won the Saints the game, right? The missed pass interference call would have gave the Saints a first down. They could have ran out the clock, kicked a field goal, and gave the Rams I think it was about 20 seconds to try to tie the game. Almost an impossible situation for the Rams. Obviously, as we know, flag not thrown. Rams have time. They kick the game-tying field goal, send the game to overtime. But what happened in overtime? Nobody talks about what happened in overtime. The Saints won the toss, got the ball. You score a touchdown, your team is going to the Super Bowl. Instead, what happened? Drew Brees threw a pick. This man threw an interception in overtime, in part to lose the game. We all talk about it, and we all point to the missed pass interference call. Drew Brees, ball in his hand, chance to win the game in overtime, threw an interception. Let's go to 2019, last year. It was almost a blessing in disguise. The second game of the year when he hurt his thumb in Los Angeles against the Rams. He missed 5 games, and when he came back, he looked fresh. He looked rejuvenated. He looked young again. So that December looked good. Never forget him going 29 of 30, I believe it was, against the Colts, torching them on a Monday night game in December. But those 5 games, again, he looked rejuvenated in December. What happened in January? What happened in the playoffs? Wild card weekend. Drew Brees throws for 208 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He lost at home in the playoffs to Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, in overtime, throws a bomb to Adam Thielen. There was a lob, nice corner back of the end zone pass to Kyle Rudolph to win the game on your turf. In the dome, you are outdueled by Kirk Cousins. Mr. Choke Job himself. So there's no reason to believe the last 2 years when Drew Brees has run out of gas, at the end of the year and in the playoffs, that at 41, he'll be able to stay fresh and ready to carry the Saints, not just to the playoffs, through the playoffs. I have no confidence. Now he's coming into the year. Now 2 games in, coming off that Monday night game, that arm strength is a real concern. Because 2 games in, Drew Brees has turned into Captain Checkdown. Go watch the Monday night game again. He threw for 312 yards, right? The stats still look good. 26 completions. So the completion percentage was high. The yards were high. But all those yards came after the catch. It was dink and dunk. It was drop-offs to Alvin Kamara, who made some nice runs after the catch. It was drop-offs to tight ends, wide receivers running underneath. He did not throw the ball down the field. And people can use the excuse Michael Thomas wasn't playing. Number 1 wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He was out, right? High ankle sprain. That doesn't prevent Drew Brees from throwing the ball down the field because Michael Thomas is not a downfield threat. He is a great possession wide receiver. 10 yards, 15 yards, you throw the ball up in his radius, he'll catch no matter what. Some of the best hands in all the NFL. But he's not one of those burners down the field. He's not one of those guys that you worry about taking the top off the defense every single play. And the brand new addition of Emmanuel Sanders, just 1 catch. No Michael Thomas. The second best receiver on the team, Emmanuel Sanders, 1 catch. So you look at it, if Drew Brees is going to dink and dunk all year now, because he's already doing it 2 games in. So if the arm strength isn't there, he doesn't trust his deep ball accuracy, he doesn't trust his arm strength to get the ball down the field. You're not winning playoff games dinking and dunking, I'm sorry. Let's look at the NFC. Russell Wilson throwing the ball all over the yard, lighting up every defense so far, playing like an MVP. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers showed improvement from game 1 to game 2, and I believe as the season goes on, they get more comfortable with each other, the continuity will increase, and Tom Brady will fit into this Bruce Arians downfield threat offense. So I think the Buccaneers offense will continue to get better, and they'll push the ball down the field. So if the Saints want to win, they're not going to do so by dinking and dunking. Which means what I teased earlier. What is the one change the Saints can do to give themselves a shot at winning the Super Bowl? You know what it is? It's on their roster already. Starting Jameis Winston. At some point. Not week 3. Maybe not even week 10. But Sean Payton has to seriously consider putting the former number 1 overall pick, the turnover machine himself, Jameis Winston, at quarterback. Because Drew Brees has not been able to get done in the playoffs the last few years. And if he's already dinking and dunking in week number 2, when he's supposed to be at his best, when he's supposed to be his healthiest, his freshest, you're in big trouble. So just think, Jameis Winston, before you call me crazy, on a 1-year deal. So this, in theory, is the only shot so far that that Sean Payton, head coach of the Saints, has at seeing what he has in Jameis Winston. And as Drew Brees, to me, continues to play the way he is, which is struggling, this team is ready to win a Super Bowl right now. This defense is the best it's going to be. The offense is the best it's going to be. This team is a legitimate, real quarterback away from winning a Super Bowl. And I do believe Jameis Winston will benefit greatly from Sean Payton. And I think Sean Payton can get a lot out of Jameis Winston. Let's not forget, Jameis Winston has a lot of arm talent. He makes some phenomenal throws. His biggest issue is the stupid mistakes he makes. I do think Sean Payton is the right coach to give Jameis a lot of good throws, try to flush out a lot of those bad decisions, and be a real contender with Jameis Winston. So if the Saints want to win a Super Bowl this year, which, I mean, that seems to be the goal. Isn't that the goal for really, that should be the goal for every team every year. But the Saints, especially this year, Drew Brees comes back for one last ride. He's not getting it done. Sean Payton owes it to the rest of the team, the other 52 men on that roster, to put them in the best position to succeed, the best position to win a Super Bowl. In my mind, that is starting Jameis Winston. That is making Jameis Winston your starting quarterback at some point before the playoffs, because even if Drew Brees turns it around, even if he plays a lot better than he did on Monday night, and really the first 2 weeks, because he said, and Sean Payton has said after the game on Monday night, the offense has not been in sync the first 2 weeks. So even if the offense does get in sync, even if they turn it around, Drew Brees has shown he has run out of gas in the playoffs. He cannot get it done the last few years. So you're going to have to seriously consider putting Jameis Winston as your starting quarterback, and I believe that should be the case. Whether it's 2 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now, even 10 weeks from now. You got to give Jameis Winston a shot here to lead this team and make them a real threat. Because right now, with the way Drew Brees is playing, this team is not a threat. This team is not a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Because Drew Brees is holding the offense back. So I'm curious your thoughts. 1, can the Saints, in your mind this year, still win a Super Bowl with Drew Brees as their quarterback? Should they consider Jameis Winston at some point? And can the Saints win a Super Bowl with Jameis Winston as their starting quarterback? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook. WWSRN_radio on Twitter. At Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. I say yes. Put Jameis in. Talk about another guy, what I just said before, a brand new quarterback market. Number 1 overall pick. 5 years, didn't work out in Tampa Bay, turned the ball over too much. This is a guy in Sean Payton who got a number 1 overall pick with a ton of arm talent on the cheap, on a discount. Imagine what he can do if Jameis Winston's on the field. So I'm very curious. I would love to hear your thoughts. Can the Saints win a Super Bowl with Drew Brees? Should they consider starting Jameis Winston? Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook. WWSRN_radio on Twitter. At Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. Tweet me there. Tweet me which young quarterback could have the most success if they're on a new team next year. I say Sam Darnold with any other team. I'm curious your thoughts. And when we come back, do you want to squeeze in a little basketball here? As the last had the Heat go up 3-1 over the Celtics. Can the Heat go all the way? Can they win the finals this year? We'll discuss next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show. Right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
welcome back, and it is the Ryan Hickey Show live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, coming to you, as we always do, from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios. Great pizza, hot heroes, phenomenal dinners. All three you can get at Big Italy Pizzeria if you check them out in person, out in Medford, Long Island, or BigItalyPizza.com. Hour number 2, a ton of quarterback talk. Young quarterbacks potentially being on teams, new teams next year. Old quarterbacks and Drew Brees need to be replaced if the Saints want to win a Super Bowl. Quarterback talk. We all love it, right? That's the one position we always love to talk about. We always love to scrutinize, love to praise. Always looking for improvement. Saying, oh, they're the best thing ever. It's such a great position. Well, from our perspective, I'm sure being a quarterback, being in a fishbowl your whole life, it has to be less than exciting. But we're talking all that. So any quarterback thoughts? Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook. WWSRN_radio on Twitter. Do the Saints need to start Jameis Winston? Can the Saints win a Super Bowl with Drew Brees? Should they start Jameis Winston at some point this year? And which young quarterback do you think, in your mind, will have the most success if he's on a new team next year? I'm rolling with Sam Darnold. I'd love to get your thoughts. Again, WWSRN_radio on Twitter. At Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Or if you're on Instagram, at Ryan Hickey Show as well. Shoot me a follow. Write a little comment. I'll read it on the air before we get out of here at 11 a.m. Eastern. So I do want to get in one NBA point here. Last night, Miami Heat go up 3-1 in their Eastern Conference Finals over the Celtics, looking for their first Finals appearance since 2014. So the question is, right, watching last night, watching this series, watching this playoff run so far, can they make a run? Can they go all the way to not just the finals, can they win the finals? To me, the answer is yes. Whether it's the Lakers, whether it's the Nuggets. I love this team's mindset. I love their attitude. And personally, for me watching, that's been the difference that's fueled their playoff run. It's like, we always hear, and I can't blame the players for this, being in the bubble since late July, right? It's been 2 months. It's going to be almost 3 months by the time the finals end. And these two teams, whoever is in the finals, the last two teams standing will be in the bubble. It's a grind. Even with your family there now in the bubble, it's a grind to be in one spot for that long. You're in a hotel room. But for whatever reason, as we've seen, by the way, before I get to my next point, sorry. I'm cutting myself off. Go figure how that's happening. But as you see, that grind, mentally and physically, can wear down on players, can wear down on teams. But watching this Heat team, watching the fun they have, watching the attitude that they have, it's almost like the bubble is the perfect setting for them. Led by Jimmy Butler, it's like they're enjoying this entire experience, like where basketball being the only thing, the front and center thing, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's like that's when they're at their best. When it's basketball, a team like the Heat, again, led by Jimmy Butler, it's like they're in heaven. They wouldn't want it any other way. So that mindset is why they keep on fighting back, why they keep on battling back. And as we see in the first two games of this Eastern Conference Final, they were down double digits to the Celtics in Game 1, down double digits in the second half in Game 2. They battled back and won both of those games. We've seen teams just pack it up. They're getting blown out. All right, now tonight, we'll see you the next night. Easy to make excuses. The wear and tear of the bubble is getting to me. I'm not trying to minimize that factor because it's legitimate. But for the Heat, it just doesn't seem like, at least on the outside to the exterior, that's really weighing them down. That's a truly big factor. And even last night, we've seen Jason Tatum scoreless in the first half. Missing shots, doesn't seem right. Woke up at the third quarter. 16 third quarter points. Explodes on the scene. Now the Celtics are back in the game. The Heat aren't fazed by it. They just keep on going. They fought it off. Oh, Jason Tatum's cooking? Nah. Brush off the shoulders. Let's get to work, boys. Let's finish this one off. And they do it. Nothing I love about this team. Contributions up and down the roster. Look at the Lakers, right? You know who the focal points on offense of the Lakers are. LeBron James, Anthony Davis. They are counted on and they are relied upon to score and score often if the Lakers want to win. Look at the games the Lakers have won. Look at those two. Look at their contributions versus when they lose. Look at the bench contributions. The Heat rely on everybody. Literally everyone. Everyone that's on the floor is expected to contribute, and they have in one way or another. So it makes it harder to game plan. Because you don't know who's going to go off. Last night, perfect example, Tyler Hero. 37 points, 5 made threes, some massive buckets down the stretch for a rookie. Guy's 20 years old. Draining threes late in the fourth quarter, making drives, making great cuts. Ice in the veins. We've had Jimmy Butler step up and take over, just completely take over fourth quarters. Lead his team down to victory. Goran Dragic has had nights where he's unstoppable. Duncan Robinson has been hot from three. Bam Adebayo has stepped up. All these players on any given night could be the one to take over the game and lead their team to success. It's not all on Jimmy Butler. It's not, all right, crunch time, 3 minutes left. Jimmy Butler's getting the ball every possession. Let's hope he can make a play. And we'll be here to get a rebound or maybe take an open shot. Whoever the hot hand is that night, they're the ones taking the shot. They're moving the ball. The ball movement is incredible. So I love the way this Heat team is playing. I really do. I said a few weeks ago I thought the Celtics were the team to beat in the East. I just thought they had too much scoring, too much talent. Too much bona fide talent, I should say. Because the Heat have talent. But we know, with Jason Tatum, with Jaylen Brown, the way Marcus Smart's played, Gordon Hayward now returning, Kemba Walker at the point. There are so many different scoring options that I thought it was going to be tough to defend the Celtics. But the Heat just don't care. They play great defense. They play hard. They're not intimidated, which is another major factor. And they are so diverse that you have to pay attention to everyone on the floor because they'll make you pay if not. So you look at the Heat. Their depth of scoring, very impressive. Their defensive prowess, mind you. They put the Celtics in the spin zone, in a spin cycle, when they were in the zone last night for almost 3 quarters. They couldn't figure it out. It took them a while to figure it out. And you have great coaching with Eric Spoelstra. He's the best coach in the NBA right now. Left in the bubble, I should say. Excuse me. Better than Brad Stevens. Better than Frank Vogel. Better than Michael Malone. So you have the head coaching edge. The defense, the way they mix up their looks is impressive. And the fact that anyone can be relied upon on any given night to step up, and they have stepped up, makes the team, they are going to be a tough out. Which is why I think they can legitimately win it all. They can get past the Lakers. They can get past the Nuggets. I'm buying in this Heat team to make a run, again, not just to the finals, because they're basically already there, but to go all the way and win the finals. So I'm curious your thoughts. Can the Heat, do you think in your mind, have what they need to win the finals? Can they beat the Lakers? Can they get by the Nuggets? I'm sure we'll discuss this next week going on if they can close out the series this weekend. But it'll be a very big talking point. I'm very excited to see this Heat team continue to play really well. So again, your thoughts, Miami Heat. Can they win it all? Can they beat the Lakers? Can they beat the Nuggets? We'll discuss that. Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook. WWSRN_radio on Twitter. At Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. We'll get your thoughts, and when we come back, my so wrong MLB predictions before the season started. I want to use that to highlight the biggest surprise in Major League Baseball so far. I'll tell you who it is when the Morning Boys, so close. Almost had a perfect day today. When the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show. Right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We both know how this ends. A clock ticks till it breaks your glass, and I drown in you again.
15 minutes from now, I should say. 15 minutes from now. Hickey's Pickies week number 2. I hope you enjoyed it last week with our in-studio celebrity guest picker, the great Lauren Clark. She went 5-0 last week. A girl who didn't know Louisville football existed, who said it's the year of the underdog is dead. If you're an underdog, you're in big trouble. Only for the Thursday night game, she picked the Browns over the Bengals. So the Patriots have no chance. the Ravens are going to dominate the Texans. She went 5-0. So our next guest, or I should say our next celebrity guest picker, my good friend Christian Maldonado, he's going to have his work cut out for him. Now, Maldi, I'll say this. In 2020, Apocalypse went 1 for 5. Did not make the playoffs, had the second lowest score. Tie for the lowest score with my sister, Colleen. Hopefully she's listening because she hates getting reminded of the fact she went 1 for 5. But Maldi was in that category with her as well, 1 for 5. So we'll see if his picking games prowess is better than recognizing real-life 2020 events from fake. So that should be a lot of fun. 15 minutes from now, Hickey's Pickies, week number 2. A great slate, mind you. A great slate of games. We'll give you the best games to pick. So that's what we're going to do here. That's what I want to make this segment about, by the way. If you're just tuning in, first of all, welcome. We appreciate you. Welcome. We hope you listen more often. We're here every Monday and Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. But Hickey's Pickies, in picking games, I feel like, making money, sure. You're going to really listen to me as gambling advice. But we'll pick the best games. The matchups people want to hear about. And boy, do we have a lot of great matchups for you. Some NFL, some college. Plus, this week, brand new, we'll do this every week. Upset special. Underdogs. More than 5 points on the spread. Which team will cover, which team will flat out win. We'll give you an upset special each week on the show. Add it to the tally, and we'll see who comes out as the Hickey's Pickies champion. But Lauren Clark so far, 5-0. Congratulations to her. We'll see how Maldi can do in about 15 minutes or so. But I do want to get to some baseball. Because like I said, you blink, all of a sudden the season's over. 60 games we knew was going to go by pretty quickly. And boy, has it gone by pretty quickly. So I want to discuss the most surprising Major League Baseball team this year in my mind. But before we do that, I want to kind of use this at least to show you how surprising this year was, how different this year was. Because a lot of things I think we thought that were going to happen did not happen. So I want to give you my predictions before the season started. July 23rd, that Thursday right before most of the teams played on Friday. And show you just basically how off I was. And which one team to me is the most surprising. So we'll start in the AL. I had the AL East picking the Yankees. Who won the AL East? Who just clinched it last night? The Rays. 0 for 1. The AL Central. I had the Twins winning that one. I thought they would go back-to-back. Who's leading the AL Central right now? The White Sox. 0 for 2. Let's go to the West. The Astros, right? One of the best lineups in baseball. Still, trash can, no trash can. Garrett Cole, no Garrett Cole. They'll still be really good. They'll still win the division. Well, right now the A's are leading that division. 0 for 3. Got the AL East wrong, the Central wrong, the West wrong. Now, I did have the Rays and A's as wild cards making the playoffs, and this was also, again, I made my predictions before they officially announced the expanded postseason. So I did it as normal postseason. So at least I got 2 playoff teams right, and the Yankees, Twins, and Astros will make the playoffs. But in terms of division winners, 0 for 3. Let's see if we can do a little bit better in the NL. NL East. Reigning World Series champions. In a short year, what did I say? My big thought, and a big sticking point was pitching. Pitching. Pitching is going to win in the postseason. Pitching is going to win in a short year. I picked the Nationals. Well, who's leading the NL East? The Braves. How about the Central? I went a little out of the box. The Reds are getting some love. I like the addition of Trevor Bauer with Luis Castillo. That's a 1-2 punch there. Sonny Gray has also pitched well for Cincinnati. I didn't buy the Cubs. The Cubs were a team I hated their pitching. I thought they were going to get shelled. I liked their lineup. But to me, they were a way worse version of the Astros. I thought the Central was going to go through Cincinnati. It's going through Chicago. 0 for 5, if you're keeping track, by the way, of division winners. Lastly, this one was an easier one. Now, the Padres met a little closer, but this is an easier one. The Los Angeles Dodgers winning the West. They're the best team in baseball. Just on an insane pace. So 1 out of 6, I got correct. Division winners. Which means to me, not that I guess, scratch it. Let me go back for a second. What that means to me, a ton of surprises. We kind of figured in a weird 60-game season, anything could happen. When you take the marathon, the most grueling part of the game, out, it opens up so many more teams to be competitive, to make a run. when you only have to be good for a third of the time than normal, everything's on the table. So the White Sox being one of the best teams in baseball, big surprise. The Padres putting it all together the way they are. I don't think that's a surprise that they're in the playoff hunt, but the fact that they're playing so well, they're playing like one of the best teams in baseball. Big surprise. The Cubs, like I said, their pitching, I'm shocked about. I did not think it'd be this good in the Twins. The Twins, the Rays. The Rays have the top seed right now in the AL. I did not think they're going to be that good. Hat tip to them. But to me, the most surprising team out of everyone, of all 30 teams, is a team not winning the division currently, still not guaranteed to make the playoffs, but right there in the hunt is the Miami Marlins. What they have done this year is nothing short of surprising, even if they fall out of the playoff hunt these last few days. Even if they come up short, lose a tiebreaker, and set are one of the first teams out. What they have done this year is nothing short of incredible. Coming into the year, they're supposed to be one of the worst teams in baseball. And like we said, short season, you can get hot for 3 or 4 weeks. All of a sudden, you're going to be in the mix. Right? It only takes a month for you to be a real playoff contender, whereas in normal years, it takes a full 60 games to consider yourself to be a playoff team or not. Or to get in the mix, I should say, to at least be in the conversation. So this team is supposed to be one of the worst teams in baseball. Play really well. Not to mention, though, to start the year, a team that wasn't supposed to be good, didn't have much talent, going to be the doormat of the NL East. Not only just their talent alone is it not on par with the rest of the division. They lose in the first weekend 17 players to COVID. Right? Remember that first outbreak? There's some panic that baseball could just shut down. Knew every day more cases were coming out. Marlins went from 4 outbreaks, playing a Sunday game against the Phillies, total of 17 players. They missed a week of baseball, came back, and started coming back using minor league players, using their alternate site players to fill spots on the team for weeks at a time. It wasn't just a few games. It was weeks at a time. They lost 17 of their 26 roster spots. Think about that. And they still won games. They're 28-28 on the year. Currently second in the NL East, which if they stay there, guarantees themselves a playoff spot. They're a half game up on the Phillies. What's even more, I don't even know if the word is impressive or surprising or just straight mind-boggling. They don't really do anything well. You look at the Marlins, they're 19th in Major League Baseball in runs scored. So their offense is not producing the runs that they need to win. Which, okay, you think, all right, they're 28-28. They're in second place. If they're not scoring a lot, okay, their pitching's probably better. They're probably pitching well, low-scoring games, winning 3-2, winning 2-1, winning 1-0. Their team ERA is 22nd in baseball. So they're not scoring a lot of runs. They're not preventing teams from scoring runs, but they're still somehow winning games. So I'll give them a lot of credit. Maybe you could say this is misleading and just a byproduct, again, of a short schedule. Maybe you think that they'll just get wiped out in the playoffs. And they very well what? They probably will. But just to get to this point, again, supposed to be last place in the NL East, one of the worst teams in all of baseball. You lose 17 of your 26 players 3 days into the season. Any other team, you're wiped out. And they continue to win. You play in double headers. That's something you got to make up, a week's worth of games throughout the season where it's already a sprint. Playing 60 games, and I believe it's 65 days or 66 days. So you don't have many off days to begin with. Now you got to play double headers on top of that. You're still winning games. And you don't do anything well. So sure, it's an aberration. Sure, it's one of those things where it just doesn't make any sense, but it continues to happen. But I give them a lot of credit. The Marlins, to me, are by far the most surprising team in baseball. Whether they make the playoffs or not. They should be commended for their effort. They've looked like the better team a lot of the time. And they're only playing teams in the AL East and the NL East, and those two divisions are pretty good. The Rays, best team in the AL, one of the best teams in baseball. Yankees have turned it around. Blue Jays are in the mix for the AL playoffs. Braves have been one of the better teams in the NL. It's tougher competition than some of these other divisions. So credit to the Marlins. See, they hold off the Phillies here. Again, half game up on the Phillies for second place, which would guarantee themselves a spot in the playoffs. But I'm curious your thoughts. The Padres have been surprising, but it's not unexpected. The White Sox, how successful they've been, yes, impressive and surprising. But again, they are similar to the Padres. They have a ton of young talent. A ton of young talent. They shorted up with some veteran pitchers. So we thought they were going to be in the mix. Thought they could be in the chase of the wild card. So it's surprising that they're definitely in, they're leading the AL Central and one of the better teams in baseball. But it's not shocking that their talent has come the way it is. For the Marlins to be in the playoff conversation, let alone in the hunt, let alone in second place in the NL East, flat out surprising. This would be like if the Pirates were in the playoffs this year. Or the Orioles, who made a little bit of noise early on. But the Orioles were in legitimate playoff contention. Never saw it coming. To me, that's why they're the biggest surprise in baseball. Make the playoffs or not. The Marlins are the most surprising team in baseball this year. So I'm curious your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, or at Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter. Which is the most surprising team in baseball? Carl writes in. Carl's true. So if you're just tuning in now, I got 1 out of 6 division winners correct. The only one I got right was the Dodgers. All the AL divisions wrong, got the NL East wrong, got the NL Central wrong. Carl that means you got it wrong. It's not surprising. He said, I just flat out got it wrong. Clearly the Cubs were going to be atop their division. I wouldn't say clearly. They had legitimate questions about their pitching, about their bullpen. They missed the playoffs last year because their bullpen and their pitching imploded. And it's not like their lineup was killing it all year. Chris Bryant got off to a very slow start. Javi Baez got off to a slow start. The pitching has been one of the biggest surprises for the Cubs. What Yu Darvish is doing in turning around has been very impressive. And don't forget, Craig Kimbrell was giving away runs as much as possible those first 2 weeks. And they still were winning games. So I wouldn't say it's, the Cubs are a shoo-in to win their division or guaranteed to win their division coming into the year. I missed on a lot of picks, don't get me wrong. I don't think the Cubs is not one that, to me, I overlooked. The Cubs is not one where I say, you know what? That was just negligent on me in the preseason. They are shocking. And all because of their pitching. All because of their pitching. So, Carl, appreciate you writing in. Appreciate you listening, my man. If you're a Cubs, I'm assuming you're a Cubs fan. Enjoy the playoffs. Very jealous. As a Mets fan, I will not be watching playoff baseball. Pathetic that of 8 teams, more teams get in than not. The Mets will not be one of those teams. So enjoy playoff baseball. We'll see how far the Cubs can go. So when we come back, we're getting your most surprising Major League Baseball team from the 2020 season. I'm saying it's the Marlins. And when we come back, week number 2 of Hickey's Pickies. Our celebrity guest picker last week, 5-0. So if you took those bets to the window, put a little money on it, you're doing a lot better. Well, if you listen to Lauren, not me. If you listen to Lauren, you're doing a lot better than you were last week. We'll see how our celebrity guest picker for week number 2 does when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show. Right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show. 10:40, week number 2 of Hickey's Pickies getting set to go. Last week went 3-2 personally. The celebrity guest picker, the great Lauren Clark, comes in blind, goes a perfect 5 for 5, setting the bar extremely, extremely high for every celebrity guest picker we have this year. So we'll see how our next guy, we know he wasn't great at 2020 or Apocalypse, getting 1 out of 5. We'll see if his picks are better than what he knows about current knowledge. It is the great Christian Maldonado. Maldy, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, Hick? Thanks
Good,
for having me
man.
on.
Yo, thanks for joining. I know you're hiding out at work right now, so we appreciate you coming on and giving us a little insight here.
Of course, anything to get away from my desk, man.
For week number 2. All right, so like I said, Lauren set the bar really high. So we'll see what we can do. No pressure. We'll have some fun. A great slate of games, and we'll do a little something different here, an upset special. You get bonus points if you pick an upset, a big upset to cover, and even more points if the upset pulls the overall straight outright win. So while Lauren's 5-0 mark is perfect, you do have a chance to surpass her and get in that top spot. Are you ready to roll here, sir?
Absolutely ready.
All right, Malt. 5 games here. What we'll do, 4 NFL, 1 college, plus an upset special. Picking the best games of the weekend. 1 o'clock slate. A great game here. The Rams, 2-0, going on the road to Buffalo. Another 2-0 team. The Rams getting 2 points on the road. Mald, which way you leaning here?
Honestly, I got the Rams +2.
Ooh.
I got the Rams +2.
Great minds think alike, right? I think that's what the saying goes. Let me
Absolutely,
ask you.
I love it.
Let me ask you a few questions here, Christian.
Yeah.
Did the Bills defense in week number 1, I believe that they allowed 17 points to the Jets. Is that correct?
Yep.
28 the next week to the Dolphins. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, let me ask you a question. Would you say the Jets offense or the Dolphins offense, would you say they're particularly good offenses?
No.
I'm with you. Are the Rams a good offense?
Yes.
Boom. There we go. Rams a good offense. The Bills defense is allowing points to bad teams.
That's
with
exactly
you.
what I was looking at. That's what I was looking at to make this pick. I don't think that their defense is as good as it can be. I mean, for a team that went to the playoffs last year, I definitely going with the Rams +2. Have to do it. Lock it in.
Lock it in. 1 for 1. We are both on the Rams +2. All right. Bills defense, not good. Lock it in. Number 2. This is, to me, to be honest, out of the spread here, out of these 5 games, out of the slate we have, I should say, this, to me, was the toughest game to pick. Cowboys getting 5 points on the road in Seattle. We saw Cam Newton and that Patriots offense put up some points on Sunday night. Which way are you leaning the ball? 5 points is a generous amount for a team that can score like the Cowboys. Which way are we going?
This, like you said, this was definitely a tough one. Vegas knows their stuff. They put the perfect spread out there for us to choose from. But I gotta go Cowboys. I'm going Cowboys +5 here to cover.
Cowboys.
I don't think they win outright, but I definitely think they can cover.
See, I went back and forth. Like, this is the one I filled out last because I went back and forth on it so much. And this is what it came down to for me. Right now, Russell Wilson's playing like MVP. Right now, no one is better than him right now with the way he's playing.
Yep.
So he's going to score points. That Seahawks team is going to score points. So it all comes down to the Cowboys. Can they keep up? Can the Cowboys play well in a big spot? The saying goes, fool me once, shame on you, right? Fool me twice, shame on me. Or if you're George Bush, fool me twice, you can't get fooled again. Whatever way you want, whatever saying you want to go, it applies here. The Cowboys in 2019, every big game they played in did not show up. The offense struggled, they didn't score points, and they came up flat. Whether it's the Patriots, whether it's the Eagles, any game where against a good team, the Cowboys didn't show up. Fool me once? All right, fine. You keep thinking the Cowboys with that talent are going to play well. Shame on you. No shame on me here. I am not shaming myself. This Cowboys team is the same team from last year so far. They are not going to show up on the road in Seattle. I don't care if that Seahawks defense looked exposed last week. Lay the 5 points. Seahawks at home. Going to win this game because the Cowboys will go into a shell like they always do. Give me Seattle. I'll lay the 5 points, no problem. Seahawks get this one done.
See, honestly, I'm the opposite. I'm letting them fool me all the time. I think I picked them both weeks so far, week 1 and week 2, and I'm pretty sure I lost both times with the Cowboys. So keep fooling me. I'm sticking with my Cowboys pick.
To be fair, though, I'm with you. I'm a hypocrite in the fact that I thought they were going to win week 1, and I thought they were going to win week 2. So I did buy in for the first 2 weeks, but not this week. Number 3 is where I put my foot down. Week number 3, not getting fooled a third time. Can't get fooled, as George Bush would say. All right, so that's our first disagreement. And we should just put this out there. You're an expert yourself. In your girlfriend's family pool, you pick every game. through 2 weeks, you're in 11th out of 16th place. So you're not in last place. You're not the worst at picking games.
Not last. Well, time is on my side right now. We got we got a lot of weeks left. I think it's comeback season.
It starts, Mauled, in week number 3, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
We'll go to another tough game. Packers at Saints, Sunday Night Football. Packers getting 3.5 points on the road here in the Dome. What are we thinking, Mauled?
Oh, Saints minus 3.5.
Ooh, that is confident. Let's hear it.
That was honestly that was definitely my most confident pick of this whole week. Saints minus 3.5.
See, I love this because I feel the total opposite.
Really?
The Packers' offense is white hot. And to me, this is Aaron Rodgers so far just being a big FU to the Packers. They traded up to draft a quarterback, his replacement. They needed a wide receiver. They didn't give him any wide receiver help. So Aaron Rodgers is saying, screw you guys. I'm scoring points. I'm winning games just to spite you. And the Saints offense, I'll be honest, we talked about this earlier in the show, Mauled. Drew Brees is not blowing me away. He looks old. He's playing like he's old. Not great so far. So you know what? I'm riding the hot hand. Packers in the Dome, winning outright. I'll take the 3.5 points. Don't get me wrong. Packers are winning this game outright.
And now that's a confident one in you, man.
I
like it.
I love the confidence from you.
Yep.
Boom, Saints 3.5. Don't even think about it. Give me that. All right, so a little disagreement here. We both agreed on the Rams +2. You took the Cowboys +5. I took the Seahawks. You took the Saints minus 3.5. I took the Packers. So far, a little disagreement here. We go to game number 4, the final NFL game, and the biggest game of the year so far. Chiefs at Ravens. Monday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Chiefs are getting, this may be the only time we've ever seen this with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, are getting 3.5 points on the road. You were saying this is the toughest pick for you out of the slate. What did you end up getting on with?
So, like you said, easily the hardest game I've had to pick. I didn't even make my pick till this morning.
Ooh.
I didn't.
Slept on it.
Yeah, I had to. I had to go Ravens minus 3.5.
All right, at home, Lamar Jackson, you're feeling the Ravens.
I'm feeling the Ravens.
See, we disagree again. I love this. We disagree again.
Wow.
To me, I'll be honest, Maul, this is one of the easiest. This might be the easiest selection for me. If you're given the Chiefs points, I will take them. At this point, with the way Patrick Mahomes is playing and this Chiefs team is playing, anytime you are saying, here's a lead, here is an extra point that you're giving them, I'll take it. No questions asked. I understand the Ravens are a good team. I like their defense, the Ravens, a lot more than the Chiefs. But I will take it.
I don't know if the Chiefs' offense can do it against the Ravens' defense and cover. Do you think they win outright?
So I'm going to say yes. I'm at this point, I'm just going to pick the Chiefs. And until they prove me wrong, I'm like, all right, it's one of those things I'm just going to take them. Yeah. I think they're definitely going to cover. I got to think about it. I can't lie. I got to think about if they're going to win outright. I think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah. It's going to be a phenomenal game.
I right now, gun to my head, I'll take the Ravens to win. But I think it's going to be one of those 3-point games, come down the wire, right down to the end. So if you're giving me 3.5 points, if you're saying right now the Ravens have to win by more than a field goal, I'll take the Chiefs all day, any day.
Yep. I think that's a respectable move too.
I love this, Mauled. 3 disagreements. This is a lot of fun. You're laying points. I'm laying points. You're feeling confident. I'm feeling confident. One of us is going to have a hell of a Monday.
One of us is going to have a disaster.
Well, I mean, so far through 1 week, it shows the celebrity guest picker knows a lot more than the host. So I would like your chances a lot more than mine. Before we get to the upset special, we will dabble in college football. The SEC returns this week. Really, for the first time, we actually have some good games to talk about. We have one ranked matchup. Number 3, Kentucky. Number 3. Number 23, Kentucky, getting 8 points on the road at number 8, Auburn. Mauled. Are we feeling the Wildcats here? Are we feeling a little upset special?
So I'm not actually.
Ooh.
I'm not. I took Auburn minus 8. And as you know, I don't know too much about college football. Went with a little gut instinct on this one. Auburn minus 8. Lock it in.
Mauled, I'm with you, man.
Yep.
I am totally with you. I like what Auburn has at quarterback. And I like the gut. I looked at this. I said, you know what? Gut instinct. I like Auburn. I'm a little higher than a lot of people this year. For whatever reason, a lot of people do not like Bo Nix at quarterback. I do. I'm rolling with it. I'm with you. Lay the 8
Love
points. No big deal. First game of the year, I'm taking Auburn. I'm with you. They beat Kentucky. They take care of business. So we are in lockstep. So just to recap, the 5 games we are picking, we are both on the Rams +2. We are both on Auburn laying 8. You took the Cowboys. I took the Seahawks. I took the Packers. You took the Saints. I took the Chiefs. You took the Ravens. It's going to be a very, very, very fun week for sure.
Very interesting. I love this.
All right, Mald. So your upset special. So this is where you get the chance to go past Lauren. If you go 5-0, this is a chance to get bonus points and really cement yourself at number 1. The upset special. You pick any game, pick the underdog to cover if they are more than a 5-point underdog. If they cover, you get 1 point. If they win outright, you get 2 points. What is your upset special for week number 2? Or I guess week number 3, I should say.
All right. So I'm going to go with a little something that's probably no one's going to be agreeing with.
Ooh.
I'm going with the Jets against your beloved Colts.
Wow. Massive
line. You
line.
have +10.5. I think they could cover. They're absolutely not going to, even come close to winning, but I definitely think that 10.5 point spread, at least the one I saw, I don't know what you have if you have the 11 point. I got the Jets +10.5.
I like it. 10.5. I did see that big spread. And I'll say this, working in your favor. The Colts did lose to the Jaguars week 1. They do play down to their competition. This could be one. 10.5 is a big number.
But they did just crush the Vikings.
The Vikings played so bad.
Yeah.
Listen, you're only 1 or 2 Philip Rivers interceptions away from just being in that game. That's the thing. The Colts had a lot of chances, kicked a lot of field goals. Field goals, when you're a 10.5 spread, field goals are good. Field goals are really good.
Just got to get in range.
Wow. All right. So you are trusting Adam Gase and the Jets, 10.5 point underdogs to cover at the Colts.
When you see a spread like that in NFL, I feel like you almost have to take the underdogs.
Right?
You almost have to.
That's like a college football spread. You never see really more than I would say 8 points. Anything more than 8 is like a big number.
Yep.
And you're getting 10.5. Colts have to win by 11. Malt, playing the numbers game.
Hey, I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah. This guy is absolutely a numbers guy. That is for sure. I love that. So Jets +10.5. I'm going to stick with college football. I'm going to go stick in the SEC. Mississippi State with the Pirate head coach, Mike Leach, getting 16.5 points at LSU. First game with Mike Leach at Mississippi State. He loves to throw the ball. He's going to throw the ball 70 times in this game against LSU. SEC's defense has never seen an air raid offense like this before. And not to mention, every single player with talent that could go to the NFL draft either last year or could opt out to get ready for the NFL draft this year has done so. There was a mass exodus at LSU. I think that's going to have an impact. They're still talented. They still have some players, don't get me wrong. But now to have that much talent, I should say, leaving right away, it's going to take some adjusting. Brand new quarterback to get used to. I think this could be a game when you start off not against a cupcake, when you're playing against an SEC team right away. 16.5 points is a lot of points to beat a team by. I'm going Mississippi State +16.5. Give me that cover for Mike Leach's first game of Mississippi State. Let's roll. Let's go.
I love that because that was the other team I was looking at for my underdog special.
Ooh, look at this guy. Yep, great minds think alike. All right. So, to recap for week number 2, me and Maldi, Rams +2. Maldi, Cowboys +5. I'll take the Seahawks laying 5. Maldi -3.5 for the Saints. He's taking the Saints. I'm taking the Packers. Chiefs +3.5. I'm taking the Chiefs. Maldi's taking the Ravens. We both are on Auburn -8. Upset special. Jets +10.5 against the Colts. I will take Mississippi State +16.5 at LSU. Mald, I hope you had a lot of fun, man. And
I love it.
We will see. Hopefully, if you put some money on these, you make some money.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a very interesting Tuesday. Yeah. That's true. You might have to either look for a second job or you can quit your job on Tuesday morning. It's going to be not some in the middle, one or the other. That's for sure.
Just put the mortgage on it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Listen, you said a lot of these with confidence. You sounded assertive. You sound like you know what you're talking about. You are someone I'd listen to. You are definitely someone I'd listen to for sure.
Appreciate it.
That was a lot of fun. Hey,
I don't know if I would.
put like your picks out, the little asterisk, and like in small writing. I'm not liable. I don't really feel confident in these picks. I probably am not even going to put money in my own picks. So do what you will. Take that with a grain of salt. That was a lot of fun. Mauled. We'll see. Tuesday morning's going to be a lot of fun. Even Monday morning for a lot of these picks. We'll see how we do.
Yep.
We'll see if you can catch Lauren, even surpass Lauren. Be a lot of fun. Appreciate you coming on Hickey's Pickies week number 2. And hopefully we'll have you on again to pick some more winners.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. Thanks for having me on, man.
The great Christian Maldonado. We appreciate him coming on. Sneaking out of work for a little bit to get us here, get us some of his picks. You hear the confidence. This is a man who knows what he's talking about. Lauren knew what she was talking about, go 5-0. It's good to be a celebrity guest picker. We'll see if Moldy can follow that up, even surpass her by going 5-0. Rob, if Moldy's listening, Rob writes in, this week's guest sounds like a hot guy. I'd agree. Moldy, hot guy. How with his looks, how with the picks. So see how Christian does on Monday. That will do it for this edition of the Ryan Hickey Show. Really appreciate everyone who tuned in, who listened, who gave us some part of your morning. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy all the games. NFL Week 3, college football. SEC is back. Big 12 is playing. ACC is playing. A lot of good college football. We'll discuss it all on Monday, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.